Hello VC, hello everyone. This is a very special video. The idea for this video is taken from one of my favorite YouTubers in the VC, Beatle Dave from the UK, from Derby. Now, I don't know if it's on his channel. He left it on his channel because this was a camera problem, but the idea was his 12 essential records that need albums that need to be in any record collection. And he chose 12 albums without the Beatles. And this is a great idea, I think. I'm going to take it one step further and do a 30 essential albums that every record collection needs to have. And the rules for me is that, again, as Beatle Dave, I'm not going to show any Beatles albums here. And also not Israeli artists or French and Italian and let's say it's all Anglo-Saxon. It's all in English artists. So what are my essential 30 albums that you need to have? And it's not in any order, not in any order of importance, not in any order of the alphabet, nothing. Just from record to record, from album to album. And I'm going to cheat just with the first album, because it's not a single album. It's a box set that I just received recently. It's a Sharaday. This far, it's 6 album, all album discography. And why is that? Because it's a recent find, and that any album of her is just great. Well, another thing is that I have all the first 4 albums of her original, but the 2 later one I don't have. They are really expensive to get today. These 2 albums that probably were limited edition or something. Anyway, they are sold out. And this is Sharaday is a must for every record collector. Sharaday is a great singer from basically 80s, 90s. Cool singer, incorporating songs, soul, and a bit of jazz, and it's a new wave-ish sound, a bit modern sound, with all her. She is a beautiful Sharaday, and you need to listen to it if you don't have any of the album, or if you have just one. Sharaday is an essential buy or essential album to get in your collection. Now we continue as one album each artist. It is another of my rule here, and this one is a bit of a cliche. Why is that? Because it's this album. Everybody knows Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. This is, of course, the gatefold. But this is a special version of this album because it's a quadraphonic version, quadraphonic mix, special mix, a very sought after one. Now you have here the album itself. Everybody knows this is a masterpiece in its own right, a cliche, because it's known all around the world. Pink Floyd and Dark Side. This is, of course, again a quadraphonic album, and this copy has all its editions. First of all, we have the poster. This is the pyramids in Egypt with the blue tint background, and the band itself, as you can see here. Okay, and well, everybody knows now today there's a problem with Roger Waters. I won't get into it. And also 2 stickers that were added to the original one and also to this version of Dark Side of the Moon, money, and everything that is in here. Brain damage, us and them, brave time with the clocks. I remember listening to it for the first time. I listened to it in 1977. I was in my parents' home, and they had stereo equipment, and I listened to it on my headphones because I didn't want to disrupt anybody in the house with this music at that time. And so it was just great to listen to it in stereo, all the effects there on the album. I said that there's no connection between the albums, but there's sometimes some connection. Johnny Lydon, or Johnny Rotten as he was known back then, had the famous shirt, I hate the Pink Floyd. There's of course the opposite sound and idea of the Pink Floyd and Dark Side of the Moon. Never mind the bollocks of the Sex Pistols, the first, or the not the first, but still the iconic record of the punk era. And I have the original pressing without the names of the songs at the back, and with the one-sided single submission added to this album, this pressing, early pressing, first pressing. Now, only thing that I miss is the poster, the elusive poster. If anyone has it, please contact me. Anyway, this is the brilliant, never mind the ball. Now, I remember the first time that I've heard the Sex Pistols, it was God Save the Queen at the Israeli Eat Parade. It was going nowhere in Israel, this song, but for me, to listen for the first time to a punk song by the Sex Pistols, it was mind-blowing, because I was into Pink Floyd before, and Yes, and other, prog, and other songs, and other genres, and I've waited for a new thing, and it was, for me, a great thing, because it was, again, free guitars and drums, like the 60s, the early basic rock and roll, but it's with angst and power and energy that was not as before. And so, what could say, God Save the Queen, hey John. So this is an essential for you. Any pressing, okay, of God Save the Queen is good for you, not just mine. It's just an early first pressing. Okay, still continue with the punk, and this is a debut of another very famous punk band, The Clash, with Joe Strummer, and this is again the debut. It's a punk album, great punk album with Career Opportunities, White Riot, and Remote Control, London's Burning, What's My Name, Police and Thieves, which is a bit of a reggae, and I'll continue with something else after that. Essential. I remember seeing the movie Rude Boy. It's a great movie about the Clash. This album, remember buying it when it was a few weeks after it was out in England. This is the original one. I can show you the CBS label UK, of course. Also the Sex Pistols were UK, the Pink Floyd was a UK original. So, the Clash were influenced by many things, rock and roll, and even the Pistols themselves. and also reggae. Reggae, and I've got a reggae album here, which the great late John Peel, the great broadcaster, radio editor and broadcaster from the BBC, said that this is the best reggae album ever, and I agree with him totally. Misty in Roots, their debut, their first album, live at the Counter Eurovision 79, Counter Eurovision, not Eurovision, of course. And it's just brilliant album, not just reggae, but I can't, you must listen, it's essential. Menaka and Ghetto of the City, How Long Jah, Oh Wicked Man, Judas Iscariot, Sida Makam, Sodom and Gomorrah, Sida Makam, Roots Kanshora, they said. It's a live album, but it's brilliant, it's recorded great, recorded very well. You must listen to it. Any record collectors need to have it if he wants even one reggae album in his collection. Misty and Roots, live at the Counter Eurovision, a Belgium original. It was pressed in Belgium. People Unite. Label Misty in Roots. Roots Canshola. See the Macam. Well, next, what do we have next? Again, a different one, totally different, or maybe the Rolling Stones. Now, you might ask yourself why you've chosen this album, The Satanic Majesty's Request. Because of the cover? Maybe. Not just because of the cover. You know, the era of the Rolling Stones album is with Let It Bleed, and the what do we have there? Sticky Fingers, and two other record, Bangers Banquet, and the one with the stood for the man. I don't remember the name of the album, double album maybe. I like the early Rolling Stones. It's not that I don't like this era of the late 60s, early 70s, but the early Rolling Stones really captured, I think, their energy and their heights. And but the problem with the Rolling Stones album, the early Rolling Stones album, the albums were not good as their singles, I think. And this one is really, although people say, well, it's a bit of imitation of Sgt. Pepper by the Beatles, but it's a great album as an album. And it also has two hits here that I really love. She's a Rainbow and 2000 Lights is From Home. Also Sing This All Together is a great one. And Citadel and other songs here. And of course, they have the 3D picture here. If you can see the movements, and it's a gatefold, and this is the back cover, and it's the original inner on the original UK Decca green, the original thing, the real deal, in a great great condition. So this is the one to have, for me at least, and as a recommendation to you, as essential albums by the Rolling Stones in your collection. Next one is, we turn to punk, but this time to New York from the UK, and to television and Marky Moon. We just lost recently Tom Verlaine, the leader of the band. This album is just magnificent. I remember listening to it the first time. There was a radio show, 1 hour punk music in the Israeli radio channel back then, and they put, I think, Friction. And for Marky Moon, and immediately I knew that I need to get the album. And there was a record store in Tel Aviv by the name of Allegro, their first branch near Allenby Street, and I bought it there, and it was many times on my turntable. The CBGB's guests on my turntable, television, and Marky Moon. Also, Adventure, the second album of them, is great, but this one is totally brilliant. Marky Moon, you need to get it for your collection. If you don't have, still. This is the inner sleeve. Here's the band, and the original Electra with the butterfly. This is the original copy of mine that I bought in Allegro back then. Now, from television to return to the UK and to Led Zeppelin. Yes, indeed. Yes, sirree. This is the original, true original one. The Turquoise debut album, first album by probably the best rock band ever, the Led Zeppelin. And this is the album that I really like from the band. I like all of their albums, I must say, but this is the best, I think. It is with true feel of rhythm and blues, and with the voice of Robert Plant and the guitar of Jimmy Page, and John Bonham on drums, and John Paul Jones on bass. Good Times, Bad Times is great. Baby, I'm gonna leave you. Doesn't confuse, of course. I think it's for the time of the Yardbirds. And I Can't Quit You, Baby. How many more times? Well, they said that Robert Plant, in his voice, can break windows. Led Zeppelin, the album you need on any pressing. This, of course, this one I bought on an auction, on a real auction, live auction, not on the internet, but on Utrecht, in Holland, in the great and big record fair in the world. And it cost me much less than the market price. And this is the album itself, the original red and purple, or orange and purple, I think it's reddish. On Atlantic, the original UK, the brilliant debut, Led Zeppelin first. We turn to the CBGB's artists from New York. And again, there's a television connection because Richard Hell and the Voidoids. Richard Hell was an early member of television. He left the band before their album, for their Marky Moon, and made a brilliant album for himself. And what could say about the name of this album, Blank Generation? Nothing can be more epitomized than the punk culture than this name and this album, with Love Comes in Spurts, Liars Beware, New Pleasure, Betrayal Takes Two, Blank Generation, of course, Another World, and others. This is the original one that I bought in a different store, a record store, than I bought the Marky Moon. The name of the store was Fuzz at that time. And people really look at me in suspicion. Why I buy this strange punk album with people that looks like this? This is one of a kind. You need to get it. I think it was reissued just lately. So even if you buy the reissue, it's okay, because to get the original one is really difficult nowadays. This is the original one. And I have a story about this letter, envelope. And there's Robert Quinn, he's a guitarist in the Voidoids. And me and my friend at that time, we were teenagers, we've sent a letter to Robert Quinn with hope that he will send us a reply. But of course it came return to sender, address unknown. We were so naive back then. Anyway, Richard Hell and the Voidoids. Next, what do we have next? We're going to the 80s, mid-80s, and to the new wave, Depeche Mode. And this is the album that I recommend and think it's essential for any record collection to have. Blank Generation and Black Celebration. Black Celebration. Now this cover is an embossed one, with the letters here in yellow embossed, and also here you have the several signs that are embossed to the cover. This album, I remember listening to it in London, and it was, well, again, great. Any songs here is brilliant. Black Celebration, A Question of Last, Sometimes, Stripped, A Question of Time, everything. And this is a Black Celebration for Depeche Mode. And this is the inner sleeve and the album itself that I bought in England. I think it was in a market in Camden Town. Okay, next one. Totally different, I think. Prog at its best. Jethro Tull. Yes, sirree. Thick as a brick. When you talk about Jethro Tull, it's always you need to choose between this one and Aqualung. I think it's a better album than Aqualung because it's much more unified as a piece of music. And Aqualung, which I have 3 copies here. First one is Heavy Textures UK, and this one too, Israelis one with laminated cover. But this one, Thick as a Brick, as I said, it's much more unified and I think a very nice listening album that is essential for your record collection. The cover is, of course, very unique. It's like a newspaper. This is a UK original. You can see here. I want not all the pages here. Let's close it like this and like this. It says here Ronnie Schindler was the previous owner of this album. It's original. It's not the UK. It's an American one. It's a US one on the Reprise record. I think it's the original. No, it's not even an American. It's Canadian. Original Canadian. Forgot the original Canadian album and label and Reprise. The one to get to your collection from Jethro Tull, the great prog folk, UK folk band from 1972. Well, next one is again we're talking about unique covers. This one is truly unique. Yes, sirree. It's the Small Faces. Ogden's Not Gone Flake. What can you say about this cover? This rounded cover. And this is the original Israeli album, which I think the cover was imported from the UK, the original UK. So this one is an original UK cover with an Hebrew sticker here with English. הפנים הקטנות כל בטלת יום א', Small Faces Lazy Sunday, and a stereo and mono sticker here, unique to Israel. And as you probably know, this is brilliant. cover an album. I'll show you first the Israeli Immediate label, which is again is a very, very unique Immediate red label. Great condition. And the cover, again in great condition. Very delicate, very a bit flimsy, but still quite delicate. But still, what can you say about it? It's just great. The music. I could choose the first or the second one. I think I have here the Israeli second from the beginning, Small Faces, which has many hits like Shalalalali and what else? All or Nothing. This one is, condition is laminated on packs. But this album is much more mature, the Ogden Nuts Flake. Much more mature. It still have a Lazy Sunday hit there. And it's, of course, the mod era at its best. Small Faces, Ogden's Nut Gun Flake in a roundish, original, outstanding cover. I think I'm showing you outstanding covers, outstanding albums. Sometimes probably a surprise for you that you need to get for your record collection. Again, you don't need the early first pressing because they are, of course, rare, mega rare, and cost very much. But you can get a reissue or something. Next one, it's much more affordable, but it's brilliant in its own kind. And there's connection to the Small Faces because this is the Style Council. The product of Paul Weller and Mick Talbot and Dizzy Lee. But still, this one is the mods from the early 80s. And the Café Bleu is definitely the one to get. I have also the other effort that they made. Two great, all the others, Our Favorite Chop, the original, and the Confession of a Pop Group. Two, again, great albums, but this one is the one that is essential. Mod culture, new wave-ish, soul style, bossa nova style, funky, even a bit of hip hop, still with a lush production, with Paul Weller from the Jam, an icon today in the UK and maybe in the world. And this one was with the feel of Paris, Café Bleu. It was the cover was pictured and filmed in Paris, and I have here the À Paris EP, 12-inch EP. You can see the Eiffel Tower here in the middle, and the style and the coolness of this band at that time, a duo, Weller and Talbot. Now, the best thing is great. The My Ships Come In, the Paris Match. This version of the song is with Tracy Thorn from Everything But the Girl, and My Ever Changing Moon, of course, and Let's Start with Happiness, and just great album. Here's the Inner Blue, Café Bleu cover, and the beautiful label. It's all much care, with much care. The people that made this record, everything here, and inside I have a small booklet that came with the original one. This is the original one. And again, on a patisserie in Paris. Now, the place is, I've been to this patisserie, to this cafe in Paris near the Arc de Triomphe, near Champs-Élysées. And now the people at the cafe, let me take their menu, written menu here, booklet again. It's La Belle Ferronnière Café, the former patisserie that was in the album. Weller and Talbot were pictured there. And we have here Les Sandwiches and Tanite Opé Paulin, and Croque Mesdames and Croque Monsieur, and all kinds of aperitifs and alcohol and whiskeys and everything the French have in their menu. So, and I have also, what is that? Oh, this very nice Café Bleu was inside. Des Vieux Long Play. Beautiful insert. I think I do have another thing here. No, that's all. Still, very nice. All kind of things for this brilliant album by the Style Council, Paul Weller. It's essential as hell to get to your record collection. Next one. Let's continue with, well, this is the only AOR, I think, that I feature in these essential albums. Much in Beatles influence, ELO. This is, of course, Electric Light Orchestra and New World record. American original with embossed cover here at the front and at the back. Beautiful one. I remember listening it to in the radio, I think in 75 or 6. Anyway, I listened to it, 76. On the Israeli radio, they play all the album when it was out, and immediately I went to buy it on import. You have the inner sleeve, Jeff Lynne and all the other guys from ELO, and the label, again, nice one. You have here, of course, telephone line and the rock area and so far, and a living thing, and Duya. Great songs. Next one. Next one is a few years later, maybe 2 years after that, or maybe 3 years. Anyway, the Stranglers, No More Heroes. This is the great, it was the second album by the Stranglers, and something in it, don't think so, no. I have the inner sleeve and the album itself. Why I've chosen this one and not the Their View or the later one? I think because all the punk hits are here. No More Heroes, of course. I feel like a Wog. Dagenham Dave. Bring on the Newbells. Something Better Change. Do. Great songs. Great album. I remember buying it in 1978, I think, in a record, now defunct record in Tel Aviv called Record. It was, I think, the first place in Israel, in Tel Aviv, to import punk records. So this was the place and the time to buy No More Heroes by the Stranglers. Next one, we've talked about mods, talked about UK rock and roll from the 60s. No more than the Kinks. And this great album are the Village Green Preservation Society. This is, of course, the one of the best album. I think musically, as an album, it's the best. Also, the most rare album to get. This is, ladies and gentlemen, the real deal. This is the original album that I bought for, I think, not so much money, because it was in a stack of other records, and it's in. I'll show you. Almost, as I can say, it's mint or near mint minus. How many times you've seen these albums in this condition? The cover is just brilliant, and the album is the inner sleeve. The album is, again, mint minus, near mint condition. The original pie, light blue label. The Village Green is the album to get from the Kinks. You can love, and I love, the previous album with all the hits, but this one as an album is the essential one to get. Again, Village Green Preservation Society, the Village Green Preservation Society. Next one, different kind of sort, after album, essential one, Joy Division and Unknown Pleasure. Their debut, Ian Curtis as the leader. I remember listening for the first time in John Peel music on BFBS Cyprus that I could get here in Israel on shortwave. This one is the original one that I bought in the House of Record, Beta Taklit in Tel Aviv, when a few months, I think, after it was out in the UK, with the texture sleeves, texture cover, let's say, bit of embossed here and there. What can I say about Joy Division? They are great. The post-punk, new wave-ish, left side band from the late 70s with the famous, iconic label here, picture of Unknown Pleasure. And this is the original one, so if you put it into a strong light, you can see that it's a red, transparent, a bit transparent red vinyl. Original one, and I have also the second one, but closer. It's a great one also, but the first one is essential. This is second best. Next is Bee Gees, the 60s Bee Gees. You can see as a combo, four members. The Gibb brothers, of course. Only we are now left with one, Brian. This is a compilation album, but I couldn't decide or choose anything other than this one, because every song is just, I remember it as a child, I remember it as a teenager, dancing in parties in the early 70s to Holiday, I've Got the Message to You, I Can't See Nobody, Words, I Started a Joke. What a slow dance it was. 1st of May, World, Massachusetts, To Love Somebody. To love somebody, to love some, and this is the Israeli original, laminated, near mint condition with Hebrew inscription here and Hebrew inscription here. The best of the Bee Gees says in Hebrew, and with the hit, I started a joke, we started the whole world crying. Okay, this is the Israeli album with the Polydor stereo heavy duty vinyl. Again in mint condition. On the inner nylon sleeve. Next one, from the Bee Gees to the first punk album ever, The Damned, with Damned. What can you say about this cover? With the Captain Sensible. Wow. And this one, here at the back, this is an original, not the first pressing. The first pressing was with Eddie and the Outworlds at the back, but still it's an early pressing. It's an early pressing from 77, I think, on the Stiff Records. What can I say about the Damned? I've seen them many times. Well, many times. 3 times. The first time was in 1983 in Hammersmith Palais, defunct venue nowadays. The second time it was 10th anniversary in Finsbury Park. I think there's a video about this show. And the third one just recently, a few years back. They're still going on strong with all their songs from this album, like Knit, New Rose, and others. So messed up. Damned. Punk at its best. Sorry. Next one. Going back to the US. Yes, of course. Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys. And this is a really early stereo version. Very unique, very sought after. Stereo version from the 60s. I think it's here for stereo phonographs, it says here. Of course, on the Capitol. And in an original inner for Capitol. And of course, the Rainbow Capitol, as you know, from the Beatles albums and records. What can I say about that sound? Well, there are people that don't like this album, I know. But you have it here, God Only Knows, and Sloop John B. But all the albums, you know, all this album with Brian Wilson at its best, and you cannot say much. Just you know that the Beatles listened to this album and thought that, well, how can we suppress it? And they made Revolver. Next one. We're going to the origin of the heavy metal, which back then was called hard rock. And hard rock, at its origin, is Deep Purple. And this one is a live one, made in Japan. It's a double album gatefold Israeli pressing, laminated at the outside, front and back, and the inside is a non-laminated, beautiful gatefold. Why I've chose this album, double album, live album, which is recorded very nicely in Japan, because you have here all you need for the Deep Purple: Highway Star, Child in Time, Strange Kind of Woman, Smoke on the Water, and other songs. Israeli-made album, double album. Here is the label, the purple, the true purple label. Well, I have here the other records, it's the same. So I don't think I need to show it to you. Essential for your record collection, made in Japan by Deep Purple. Next album in this list is this one, The Smiths, 8 Full of Hollow. Now, I could choose any of their albums, but I've chosen this one. It's a bit a compilation, you say, but it's most of it are taken from John Peel and Jenny Long sessions on the BBC, and all kinds of singles are in this album. I also can recommend The Went Won't Listen and the last one, Strangers Here We Come, and any other. People are used to choose The Queen is Dead. Well, they have There Is a Light That Never Goes Out, and other great songs. But this one, I remember listening to many times. William, it was really nothing. What difference does it make? This charming man, Our Sin Is Now, Handsome Devil, Ending Love, Still Ill, Heaven Knows I'm Miserable Now, Accept Yourself, Girl Afraid, Wheel Around the Fountain, Please, 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 Let Me Get What I Want, and others. Just great album you need for your record collection. This is the inner sleeve and the original one that I bought here. I think I bought it in the UK. You know that about the Smiths, I have a story because I think I was among the few that heard them for the first time at John Peel session in 1983 when I was in England. I recorded on my Walkman this broadcast, this program. And when first I've listened to it, I knew that there's something new here and great. And I wanted to buy their albums or the records, and I couldn't find any because it was before even the first album, the debut album. And just a year later, when I've been to the UK, I bought it in the Rough Trade record shop. And the Rough Trade is the label. And it was, of course, the first album. And I brought it to Israel, and I was, I think, the first one to bring it to Israel, and the first one to listen to it in Israel. So this was a very nice thing to remember. Anyway, next one. Return to the US. Morrissey is now in the US. Bob Dylan was always in the US. Although this album bringing it all back home with 61 I Visited and the Blonde on Blonde were the first electric Bob Dylan after the Newport 65 festival. And he was at the he was electrified, his songs, because he was in the UK and listened to the Beatles and met them. And, I've chose this one because you have here Subterranean Homesick Blues, Maggie's Farm, Mr. Tambourine Man, Gates of Eden, It's Alright Ma, It's All Over Now, Baby Blue. So many hits, one album, essential one. I recommend Blonde on Blonde or 61 I Visited, but this one is, I think, the better one of them all. And it's a 2i Columbia label. Don't think it's the really first pressing, but still it's quite early, maybe, on mono. So that's Bob Dylan. Next one, then to the UK with Tears for Fears. What can I say about this album? When I first, I remember the debut, which was great. I remember dancing to their album Change and or Mad World in the clubs in Tel Aviv back in the early 80s. But when this was out, it was just amazing album. Every song is just great. And if you have the 12-inch singers of Shout, or Everybody Wants to Rule the World, or Mother's Talk, or Head Over Heels, or I Believe, it's also a great listen. But this one, as an album, is essential. With the hype sticker here. Essential. Everybody Wants to Rule the World. And I've been to several shows in recent years. This is the inner sleeve. This one is original UK Tears for Fears songs from the big chair. Okay, next one. King Crimson. Kings of Prague, maybe? I don't know. This one is from the Omega live show, live auction in Utrecht. And I bought it for, I think, £120, which is much less than the market price, because this one is the true first edition pressing of in the Court of the Crimson King. And what I can say about In the Court of the Crimson King, it's an all music piece, brilliant one, 21st century schizoid man. I Talk to the Wind, I Talk Epitaph, and all others in the side 2. It is in an, VG Plus excellent condition, the cover. And I think the same goes for the album, the vinyl, on the original Pink Eye Island. One of my acquisition in the auction, which I paid quite a lot, £120. And but still, it's great find to get at this price. Okay, from Prague we turn to punk and to these guys. Sham 69, Tell Us the Truth. I can recommend to you other albums of them, like That's Live, the Gatefold one, and original, Still in Shrink, The Game. Two brilliant albums, but this one is their debut. The first side is a live side, the second side, or it's a studio side, and it's this album you can truly feel the punk era, the punk sound, with the songs like We Gotta Fight, Rip Off, Ulster, George Davis is Innocent, Postal Breaker, They Don't Understand. What about The Lonely? Tell Us the Truth, the name of this album. Now, this one is one that I bought. It was my first album back in '78. So this one, my first punk album was from '78. And me and my friend couldn't find in the early '78 punk record in Tel Aviv. So we took the train to the city of Haifa, a port town that really imported back then records from abroad. And we've been to a store called Ataklit Haifa, Record Haifa. And my friend bought the debut of Nick Lowe, something like Cool Jesus or something. And I bought Shem 69, Tell Us the Truth. I knew it from the Hour of Punk in the Israeli radio. They played Brostal Breakout. So this is my first punk album to have, an essential one to get for you all on Polydor. Okay, we are reaching the end, not yet, but close. Renaissance. Now, a Renaissance is a prog band, but this one is a mix of prog, rock, and I might say pop, because it was from 1978, from the time of the early punk, and I think the band wanted to revitalize or to make a new approach to the music. So they made Song for All Seasons. This is, wow, what an album. I can listen to it hours on end. And they have here in the, now I bought it in 78 and I took the poster, and I think it's the only poster that I've saved from my parents' house from the time of my youth, as a teenager, when I bought this album at 17. And this poster is, of course, was in the album here. And you can see the old sellotape here. My mother used to throw the old posters when they got dusty. But this one I've saved for posterity. And the album, this is the cover, the beautiful cover. What you can say about Song for All Seasons by the Renaissance? It catches the mood of all the seasons, 4 seasons we have. And the song Northern Lights, it's one of my beloved songs ever. So this is the one reason why I've chosen this one to be in the essential record album in your collection, my collection, your collection. All the other songs are brilliant also. And this is an American copy on Sire. So, that's Renaissance. Now, I think I forgot one artist. Should be here. Need to be here. Must be here. And this album, Ziggy Stardust by David Bowie. Now, Bowie is probably the most versatile artist ever in the, let's say, pop world or rock world or whatever, modern culture. The artist with many faces, many customs, many disguised. This is the original, the true original UK Ziggy Stardust. Now I remember that I had been to a live show of him, the late David Bowie, in Wembley Arena in 1995. And I went to see not David Bowie, but his support, Morrissey, because I knew that Bowie all the times, all these shows, doing mostly his latest album. And his latest album back in 1995 wasn't so to my taste. It was jungle genre or something. But really, as I've seen him, I really dug his live show because he's a performer. He was a performer. And the only song that he made from his back catalog was Ziggy Stardust, The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust. And I've chosen this album not just because of its, of his glory that everyone talks about, but because there's great songs like Starman, like Star, like Ziggy Stardust, Last Suffragette City, Rock and Roll Suicide, and others. The Must album that you need from David Bowie. Also, other albums, of course, are let's say must. One of it is Hunky Dory, the original UK Hunky Dory. But Ziggy Stardust, this is the inner sleeve. Hunky Dory, by the way, has the Life on Mars, which is a brilliant song. Original RCA, Orange Label UK, in great condition. What we can say, we're at number 27. Number 27 is Swing Out Sister. Might surprise you, but this is essential to get to your collection. As Shower Day, as Style Council, the coolest side of pop, the coolest side of rock, from late 80s, early 90s, early 90s. And this album, Kaleidoscope World, every song is just magnificent. You're on My Mind, We're in the World, Forever Blue, Tainted, Waiting Game, Precious Word, Masquerade, Kaleidoscope Affair. You can see, you can catch the feel of this album with the lead singer Corinne Drury. Beautiful person, a beautiful voice. I've seen him once in London back in the early 2000s. I remember when I bought this album, I taped it into a cassette tape at that time, 1990, 1989, 1990. And in 1990 or 1991, I think 1990, I took it with me with a Walkman, the cassette. And I've been to Austria, still as a bachelor. And I've listened to it in replay. All the way from Melk to Vienna on the Donau River, on a ship on the Donau. Took me more than half a day, almost a day, morning till evening, and just repeatedly, Kaleidoscope World with all the landscape of the Donau Valley, and all the castles there, and palaces, and it was summer, the blue river, and the sun, and the colors. Kaleidoscope World, so appropriate. And the let's see here, the vinyl itself with the inner singer sister, Kaleidoscope World, still going strong, still making records, very popular in Japan, but at that time, in the early 90s, they were a hit in Europe, mostly England, on Fontana, the original Fontana album. Kaleidoscope World is an essential buy for you to get to your record and album collection. We are in our last two albums. The one before the last one is a three-way album. It's a compilation by this group. You probably noticed that I haven't shown any soul artist, true soul artist, but I have a vast collection of soul music from 60s and the 70s, and the Motown collection, very large one. And this trio is, of course, epitomized the soul scene better than all the others. The Supremes with Diana Ross in the middle, the center. And this is, of course, a compilation three-way albums. Now, today, I have all their albums because I bought it in 1986, this trio, when I haven't had any albums of the Supremes, but I listened to it and I knew that I need to get everything, and I have all this catalog today. This is the UK catalog, I think so, or the American one. I have an American pressing, a UK pressing, even an Israeli pressing, but I have all this catalog, with Diana Ross, and even after, when she left the group, the band, and still I keep the compilations because it's just a great listen. And Tamla Motown, as you see, this is a British UK issue of the Supremes 25th anniversary with the booklet. Last one. Well, number 30 is a compilation or a collection album. I said that the rule is not Beatles, no Beatles here, but I couldn't leave it just that. So I've chosen for the last album the songs Lennon and McCartney gave away. And it features all the songs that the Beatles gave to other artists, and the other artists are represented here, like Billy J. Kramer and the Dakotas, Peter and Gordon, the Applejacks, Cilla Black, and the Foremost, and many, many others. This is the time to remind to you that I have many, many records, many, many albums by all these artists, but they are mostly, let's say, single-oriented, not an album one. But how can you not mention the female singers from the 60s in the UK? That's the Springfield, Cilla Black, I have all their catalog, Sandy Shaw, Petula Clark and others, Lulu, and the Mersey beat era from Peter Gordon, Billy J. Kramer, and of course Jerry the Pacemakers, Freddie and the Dreamers, Foremost, and others. And all the great band from the 60s, the Hollies, the Dave Clark Five, the Animals, the Yardbirds, and many, many, many more. Cream and Jimi Hendrix, the Doors, and well, I gave you my 30 essential albums. I could do another 30. I won't do it. But you need these 30, I think, in any pressing. This is my recommendation for you. I hope you've enjoyed this long video. And I hope to see you next time. So bye-bye from Ellie.